Every day you have a choice. You can either stay where you are, or you can push yourself to become something greater. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent, luck, or circumstances. It's the willingness to push through challenges and keep going, even when it gets tough. Winners don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it, one action at a time. What would happen if you committed to pushing yourself every day? What if you stopped settling for less than your best and started taking consistent, meaningful steps toward your goals? Today, we're going to dive deep into what it takes to make that happen. We'll talk about the daily habits, the mindset shifts, and the actions you need to build if you truly want to win. If you're ready to stop playing small and start taking control of your future, this is the moment to make that decision. Let's unlock the power of pushing yourself, just like the winners do. Number 1, the reality of comfort zones. Let's have a real conversation about comfort zones. You know, those places in life where everything feels safe, familiar, and easy. We all have them. It's where we settle into routines, avoid risks, and tell ourselves, this is good enough. But let me tell you something. Comfort zones are dangerous. They're like quicksand. At first, it feels like you're on solid ground, but stay there long enough, and they start pulling you down. Here's the thing. If you're too comfortable, you're not growing. Growth and comfort don't coexist. Think about it. Every great thing you've ever achieved, every breakthrough you've had, happened when you pushed yourself. When you stepped into something unfamiliar. That's where the magic is. Winners understand this. They know that life rewards the ones willing to embrace discomfort and step into the unknown. Let me ask you, when was the last time you felt uncomfortable because you were doing something new? Not uncomfortable because you were procrastinating or worrying, but because you were taking a step forward into something bigger than you. If you can't remember, it's time to wake up. You see, comfort zones have a way of tricking you. They tell you, stay here, it's safe, it's easy. But what they don't tell you is that staying there means you're slowly falling behind. The world keeps moving, opportunities keep passing, and life doesn't wait for you to decide when you're ready. Here's the truth. Success doesn't come to those who wait for the perfect moment. It comes to those who act even when it's uncomfortable. Winners understand that. They don't wait for motivation, and they don't wait for conditions to be ideal. They move, they act, they push themselves, even when it's hard. Let me give you an example. Think about the first time you tried to learn something new. Maybe it was riding a bike, learning a language, or starting a new job. Was it easy? Of course not. You probably felt awkward, maybe even embarrassed at times. But you stuck with it. You got better. And eventually, it became second nature. That's how growth works. It's not supposed to feel good right away. It's supposed to challenge you, stretch you, and make you uncomfortable. That's how you get better. Now, I'm not saying you need to live in discomfort all the time. That's not the point. The point is to recognize when you're staying in your comfort zone because it's easier than facing a challenge. Winners don't settle for easy. They push themselves every day to be a little better than they were yesterday. Think about it like this. Imagine your comfort zone as a small circle. Outside that circle is everything you want. Success, happiness, fulfillment. But the only way to get there is to step outside the circle. And here's the good news. Every time you step out, that circle gets a little bigger. What used to feel uncomfortable starts to feel normal, and you grow stronger, more confident, more capable. But you've got to make the first move. You've got to be willing to say, this is going to be hard, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's what separates winners from everyone else. They don't let fear or doubt stop them. They know that discomfort is part of the process, and they embrace it. Now let's get real for a moment. I know stepping out of your comfort zone isn't easy. It takes courage, it takes discipline, and sometimes it means failing. But let me tell you something important. Failure isn't the end. It's part of the journey. Every winner you've ever admired has failed. They've stumbled, they've fallen, but they've gotten back up. And every time they did, they grew stronger. So let me ask you again, are you willing to step out of your comfort zone? Are you willing to feel the discomfort of growth so you can reach your potential? Because if you are, you'll be amazed at what you're capable of. Start small if you need to. Take one step today that pushes you just a little further than you went yesterday. It could be having a difficult conversation, starting a new project, or waking up an hour earlier to work on your goals. Whatever it is, do it. And then do it again tomorrow. The more you push yourself, the more you'll realize that the only limits are the ones you've set for yourself. Winners don't accept limits. They challenge them. They break through them. And they do it every single day. So here's my challenge to you. Take a hard look at your life. Where are you playing it safe? Where are you settling for good enough? And what's one thing you can do today to step out of that comfort zone? Remember, everything you want is on the other side of comfort. Push yourself, challenge yourself, and watch how your life transforms. You've got this. Now go make it happen. Number 2, winners make daily choices. Let's talk about the choices we make every day. Because here's the truth. Your life, your success, your future, it's not determined by some big, dramatic moment. It's built on the small, daily choices you make. And winners, they know this. They understand that every choice matters. They don't wait for life to hand them something. They create the life they want by making decisions that move them closer to their goals every single day. Think about it. Every morning when you wake up, you're faced with a choice. Do you hit the snooze button, or do you get up and start your day with intention? Do you spend another hour scrolling through your phone, or do you use that time to learn something new, plan your day, or work on your goals? These small choices might not seem like a big deal in the moment, but they add up, they compound, and over time, they shape your entire life. Winners know this. That's why they don't waste time waiting for motivation to strike or for someone else to give them permission to succeed. They take control of their choices. They know that every decision they make is either moving them closer to success or pulling them further away from it. And they make those decisions with intention. Now I want you to think about the choices you've made in the past week. Be honest with yourself. How many of those choices were aligned with the life you want to create? How many of them were about growth, progress, or discipline? And how many were just about staying comfortable or avoiding effort? It's not always easy to face these questions, but it's necessary. Because until you become aware of your choices, you can't change them. Winners have this ability to see the long game. They don't just think about what feels good right now, they think about what's going to get them closer to their vision. That's why they're willing to say no to distractions, no to excuses, and no to anything that doesn't serve their purpose. They know that every time they say yes to their goals, they're one step closer to achieving them. Let me share something with you. Success is not about luck or talent or being in the right place at the right time. It's about discipline. It's about making the hard choices even when no one is watching. It's about deciding every single day that your future is worth the effort. Winners understand this. They know that success isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you build one decision at a time. But let's be real. Making the right choices isn't always easy. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it feels like it's not even worth it. But let me tell you, it is. Every time you make a choice that challenges you, stretches you, or pushes you out of your comfort zone, you're growing, you're getting stronger, and you're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. Winners don't wait for the perfect moment to start. They know there's no such thing. They start where they are with what they have. And they make the best choices they can every single day. They don't let fear or doubt hold them back. They don't let setbacks or failures stop them. They use those experiences as fuel to keep going. And here's the thing. Making the right choices doesn't mean you'll never make a mistake. It doesn't mean you'll always get it right. But winners don't dwell on their mistakes. They learn from them. They reflect on what went wrong, and they make a better choice next time. That's how they keep moving forward. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life could look like if you started making choices like a winner. If you started choosing discipline over procrastination, effort over ease, and growth over comfort. What could you achieve? What kind of person could you become? The answer is simple. You could become the best version of yourself. The version of you who wakes up with purpose, who works hard for their dreams, and who refuses to settle for anything less than their best. But it starts with a decision to take responsibility for your choices, to stop blaming your circumstances, your past, or other people for where you are right now. Winners take ownership of their lives. They understand that they are the only ones responsible for their success, and they don't waste time waiting for someone else to fix things for them. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep making the same choices you've always made, or are you going to start making better ones? Are you going to let fear, doubt, or laziness hold you back? Or are you going to push through and do the hard things that winners do? The choice is yours. And the truth is, you're making that choice right now by deciding to listen, to reflect, and to take action. You're already moving in the right direction. Remember, winners don't become winners overnight. They become winners through the accumulation of small, consistent, intentional choices. Choices that might not seem significant on their own, but that add up to something extraordinary over time. That's the power of daily choices. That's the power you have right now. So today I challenge you, make the choice to be better. Make the choice to work harder. Make the choice to push yourself even when it's uncomfortable, and make the choice to keep going, no matter what. Because when you do, you're not just making a choice for today, you're making a choice for your future. And trust me, your future self will thank you for it. Number 3, taking action over waiting. One of the most common traps people fall into is waiting. Waiting for the right moment, the perfect circumstances, or for life to magically align so they can finally start pursuing their dreams. It's easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start when I feel ready. But let me tell you something. Waiting is one of the greatest enemies of progress. Winners don't wait. They take action. They understand that the perfect moment doesn't exist, and the only time they truly have is right now. The thing about waiting is that it feels comfortable. It feels safe. It gives you the illusion of control, like you're planning for the perfect opportunity. But what's really happening is that you're letting fear and doubt hold you back. You're letting excuses take the driver's seat. And before you know it, days, weeks, even years have gone by, and you're still standing in the same spot. Winners recognize this trap, and they refuse to fall into it. They don't wait for the stars to align. They align themselves with action. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start when I have more time, or I'll wait until I feel motivated? Be honest with yourself. How many opportunities have you let slip away because you were waiting for the right time? The truth is, there will never be a perfect time. Life will always have challenges, distractions, and uncertainties. But winners know that progress is more important than perfection. They take action even when things aren't ideal, because they understand that action creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Now I get it. Taking that first step can be scary. It can feel overwhelming, like you're stepping into the unknown without a safety net. But let me tell you something. That fear you feel, that's a good thing. It means you're stepping out of your comfort zone. It means you're growing, and growth is what winners are after. They're not afraid to take risks, make mistakes, or face failure, because they know that every step they take, no matter how small, brings them closer to their goals. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is that they need to feel motivated before they take action. But let me tell you, motivation is fleeting. It's like a spark. It flares up for a moment, and then it fades away. If you're relying on motivation to get started, you'll be waiting a long time. Winners don't wait for motivation. They create it. They understand that action leads to motivation, not the other way around. The moment you take that first step, no matter how small, you start to build momentum, and that momentum fuels your motivation to keep going. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're standing at the bottom of a mountain, and your goal is to reach the top. If you just stand there waiting for the perfect weather, the perfect gear, or the perfect moment to start climbing, you'll never get anywhere. But if you take that first step, no matter how small or uncertain it feels, you're already closer to the top than you were before. That's what winners do. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They start climbing. Another thing winners understand is the power of starting small. They know that big achievements are built on small, consistent actions. You don't have to take giant leaps every day. Sometimes it's as simple as making one phone call, writing one page, or showing up for one workout. Those small actions might not seem significant in the moment, but over time they add up. Winners take action, no matter how small, because they know that progress, even tiny progress, is better than standing still. Now I want you to think about something you've been putting off. Maybe it's a project you've been meaning to start, a goal you've been dreaming about, or a change you've been wanting to make. Ask yourself, what's holding you back? Is it fear of failure, fear of the unknown, or is it just the comfort of waiting? Whatever it is, I want you to recognize it for what it is, an excuse, and I want you to let it go. Because the only thing standing between you and your goals is your willingness to take action. You don't have to have it all figured out to get started. You don't need all the answers or a perfect plan. Winners know that clarity comes from action. The more steps you take, the clearer the path becomes. It's like driving at night with your headlights on. You can only see a few feet ahead, but as you keep moving forward, the road unfolds before you. That's how progress works. You don't need to see the whole journey. You just need to take the next step. And here's the thing, taking action doesn't mean you won't face challenges. You will. There will be setbacks, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But winners don't let those moments define them. They use them as fuel to keep going. They understand that every failure is a lesson. Every setback is an opportunity to grow. And every challenge is a chance to become stronger. So what's stopping you? What's one thing you can do today, right now, that will move you closer to your goals? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something. Winners know that the secret to success isn't in waiting for the right moment. It's in creating it. It's in taking action, even when it's hard, even when it's scary, and even when you're not sure what the outcome will be. I want to leave you with this. You have everything you need to succeed already within you. The only thing you need to do is take that first step. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is now. Don't wait for motivation, because action creates motivation. And don't wait for someone else to give you permission, because you are the only one who can decide to start. Winners know this, and now you do too. So take action and keep taking action, because that's what winners do. Number 4, consistency beats intensity. You know, there's a belief out there that you need to give it your all the time to achieve anything worthwhile. People think success comes from those big dramatic efforts, like working non-stop for days, pushing yourself to the edge, or pulling off some kind of superhuman feat. But I want to tell you something that might surprise you. It's not about how intense you are in a single moment. It's about what you do consistently over time. Consistency beats intensity every single day of the week. The problem with intensity is that it burns out quickly. Think about it. Have you ever had a burst of motivation? Maybe you decided you were going to get in shape, so you worked out for 2 hours straight that first day. You felt great, but then the next morning you were so sore you couldn't even move. Or maybe you got inspired to start a new project, so you stayed up all night working on it. You made progress, but the next day you were exhausted, and that excitement fizzled out. That's intensity. It feels great in the moment, but it's hard to sustain. Now let's compare that to consistency. Imagine instead of that 2-hour workout on the first day, you commit to exercising for 20 minutes a day, every day. It's not flashy. It doesn't feel like a big deal. But over a week, that's 140 minutes of exercise. Over a month, that's over 9 hours. Over a year, that's life-changing. And it didn't require you to exhaust yourself or push beyond your limits. It just required you to show up day after day. That's the power of consistency. What's so powerful about consistency is that it builds habits. When you do something consistently, it becomes a part of who you are. It stops feeling like a chore or something you have to force yourself to do. It just becomes a natural part of your routine. And habits are what drive long-term success. Winners understand this. They don't rely on bursts of intensity or fleeting motivation. They focus on building habits that move them closer to their goals, one small step at a time. Let me tell you why this matters so much. When you're consistent, you're sending a message to yourself. You're saying, I'm committed to this. This matters to me. And that commitment builds confidence. It builds momentum. Each small action reinforces the belief that you're capable of achieving your goals. It's like planting seed. You might not see the results right away, but over time, those seeds grow into something incredible. One of the most common mistakes people make is thinking they have to do it all at once. They want instant results, so they throw everything they've got at the problem. But here's the truth. Success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the key to running a marathon is pacing yourself. You don't have to conquer the whole mountain in one day. You just have to take one step, and then another, and then another. I know what you might be thinking, but Jim, what if I don't feel like it? What if I'm tired, or I'm not in the mood, or I don't see the point? And to that I say, do it anyway. Consistency isn't about how you feel in the moment. It's about sticking to your commitments. Even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when you'd rather do something else. That's what separates winners from everyone else. Winners show up, no matter what. Here's another thing about consistency. It builds resilience. Life is unpredictable. There will be days when things don't go as planned, when obstacles get in your way, or when progress feels slow. But if you're consistent, you learn to push through those challenges. You learn to keep going, even when the path gets tough. And that resilience becomes one of your greatest strengths. Now, I'm not saying intensity doesn't have its place. Sometimes you do need to dig deep and give it your all. But those moments should be the exception, not the rule. The foundation of success is built on consistency, not intensity. It's built on the little things you do every day, not the big things you do once in a while. Let me share a quick story with you. I once met a man who wanted to learn a new language. He started off with a lot of enthusiasm, spending hours each day studying. But after a couple of weeks, he was burned out and gave up. Then I met another man with the same goal. He committed to spending just 15 minutes a day practicing. It didn't seem like much, but he stuck with it. Day after day, week after week, he practiced. And you know what? By the end of the year, he was fluent. The difference wasn't talent or intelligence. The difference was consistency. That's the lesson I want you to take away today. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about being the best. Just focus on being consistent. Show up every day, do the work, and trust the process. Because when you're consistent, you're unstoppable. You're building a foundation for success that no obstacle, no setback, and no challenge can shake. So ask yourself, what's one thing you can commit to doing consistently? Maybe it's exercising, or reading, or working on a skill you want to improve. Whatever it is, start small. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just pick one thing and do it every day. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be consistent. And remember, it's not about how fast you go or how much you do. It's about showing up day after day and staying committed to your goals. Because that's what winners do. They don't rely on bursts of intensity or fleeting motivation. They rely on consistency. And that's what makes all the difference. Number 5, focus on incremental growth. Success isn't about massive leaps forward. It's not about those rare, earth-shattering moments of brilliance. It's about the little, consistent steps you take every single day. Incremental growth is the key to long-term success. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy, but it works. And it's what separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck. You see, most people get caught up in the idea of overnight success. They want quick results. They want to wake up one day and suddenly have the life they've always dreamed of. But let me ask you, how often do we hear about overnight success stories that don't fall apart just as quickly? The truth is, anything worth having takes time to build. And the way you build it is by focusing on small, steady improvements every day. I want you to think about this for a moment. Imagine you improve just 1% every day. Not 50%, not 100%, just 1%. Over time, that tiny improvement compounds. At first, you might not even notice the difference. It might feel like nothing is changing. But give it a week, a month, a year, and you'll be amazed at how far you've come. That's the power of incremental growth. Let's get real for a second. A lot of people don't stick with this approach because they don't see results fast enough. They think, why bother? But here's what they're missing. Growth isn't always visible right away. It's like planting a seed. You don't plant it today and expect to see a full-grown tree tomorrow. It takes time. You water it, you nurture it, and one day you start to see the results. That's how life works. That's how success works. The beauty of incremental growth is that it's sustainable. You don't have to exhaust yourself. You don't have to give up everything else in your life to make progress. You just have to commit to showing up every day and doing a little bit better than you did yesterday. Over time, those small efforts add up to something extraordinary. Let me share a story with you. I once met a young man who wanted to become a writer. He had big dreams. He wanted to write books, inspire people, and make a difference. But every time he sat down to write, he felt overwhelmed. The idea of writing an entire book seemed impossible, so he wouldn't even start. One day I told him, forget about writing a book. Just write 1 page today. That's it. Just 1 page. And he did. The next day, he wrote another page and another. A year later, he had written his first book. That's the power of small, consistent steps. Here's something else to think about. When you focus on incremental growth, you build confidence. Every small win gives you proof that you're capable of making progress. It might not feel like much in the moment, but those small wins add up. They give you momentum. They keep you moving forward, even when the road gets tough. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, what if I have big goals? What if I want to achieve something huge? And my answer is simple. You still start small. Big goals are achieved through a series of small, consistent actions. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't jump to the top. You take it one step at a time. And with each step, you get closer to your goal. Here's the challenge, though. Incremental growth requires patience. It requires discipline. It requires you to keep going, even when you don't see immediate results. And that's where most people fall short. They give up too soon. They let frustration get the best of them. But I'm here to tell you, if you stay the course, if you keep putting in the work day after day, the results will come. You just have to trust the process. One of the best ways to stay focused on incremental growth is to set small, achievable goals. Instead of saying, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, say I'm going to eat healthier today. Instead of saying, I'm going to run a marathon, say I'm going to run for 10 minutes today. Those small goals are manageable. They're not intimidating, and they give you a sense of accomplishment that keeps you motivated. Let me ask you, what's one small thing you can do today to move closer to your goal? It doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe it's making one phone call, reading one chapter of a book, or spending 10 minutes practicing a skill. Whatever it is, just do it, and then do it again tomorrow and the next day. That's how you build momentum. That's how you make progress. Another thing I want to emphasize is that incremental growth is about progress, not perfection. You don't have to get it right every time. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep moving forward. Even if you stumble, even if you make mistakes, as long as you're moving in the right direction, you're making progress. And that's what matters. Life is a journey. Success is a journey. And the only way to get to where you want to go is by taking it one step at a time. So don't get discouraged if the progress feels slow. Don't give up because the results aren't immediate. Keep going, keep growing, and trust that every small step you take is bringing you closer to your dreams. Remember this, it's not about how fast you get there. It's about the journey. It's about who you become along the way. And when you focus on incremental growth, you're not just achieving your goals, you're becoming the kind of person who can achieve even more. That's the real reward. That's what makes it all worthwhile. So I'll leave you with this. Start today. Take one small step, make one small change, and then do it again tomorrow. And the day after that. Because when you commit to incremental growth, there's no limit to what you can achieve. The journey might not be easy, but I promise you, it will be worth it. Number 6, discomfort as a sign of growth. There's something fascinating about the way life works. The moments when you feel the most uncomfortable, the most uncertain, the most stretched, those are the moments when real growth happens. And yet so many people shy away from discomfort. They avoid it like it's something bad, something to be feared. But I'm here to tell you, discomfort is not your enemy. In fact, it's your greatest teacher. It's a sign that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. And that's where the magic happens. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most, when you've made significant progress, or achieved something you're truly proud of. I bet those moments didn't come from sitting back and staying in a safe little bubble. They came when you pushed yourself, when you took on a challenge, when you were willing to feel a little, or maybe even a lot, uncomfortable. That's the price of growth. It's not always pleasant, but it's always worth it. Let's get real for a second. Discomfort doesn't feel good. Nobody wakes up and says, you know what I'd love today? To feel uneasy, uncertain, and maybe even a little scared. But here's the thing. Every time you avoid discomfort, you're also avoiding an opportunity to grow. You're avoiding the chance to become stronger, smarter, and more capable. And if you keep avoiding it, you stay stuck. You stay exactly where you are. And that's not what you want, is it? You didn't come this far to stay the same. I want you to think about this for a moment. Why do we avoid discomfort? It's because our brains are wired to keep us safe. It's a survival instinct. When something feels hard or unfamiliar, your brain says, whoa, hold on, let's not do that. Let's stick to what we know. But here's the truth. Your brain isn't trying to help you grow. It's trying to protect you. And while that's great for avoiding danger, it's not so great for building the life you want. So you have to learn to override that instinct. You have to remind yourself that discomfort isn't danger, it's growth. Let me share something with you. I once met a man who was terrified of public speaking. Just the thought of standing in front of an audience made his palms sweat. But he had big dreams, and he knew that if he wanted to achieve them, he'd have to face his fear. So he made a decision. He signed up for a small speaking class. The first day he was so nervous he could barely get through his introduction. But he didn't quit. He kept showing up, week after week, even though it was uncomfortable. And do you know what happened? By the end of the course, he was standing in front of the group, delivering a speech with confidence and ease. That's what happens when you embrace discomfort. It doesn't stay uncomfortable forever. You grow into it. You get stronger. Now I know what you're thinking. Jim, that sounds great, but how do I actually do it? How do I get comfortable with discomfort? The answer is simple. You start small. You don't have to dive into the deep end right away. You don't have to take on the biggest challenge of your life all at once. Start with something manageable. Push yourself just a little bit further than you're used to. Stretch yourself in a way that feels challenging but doable. And then as you get more comfortable with that, push yourself a little more. Keep stretching. Keep growing. And before you know it, you'll be doing things you never thought you could. The beautiful thing about discomfort is that it doesn't just teach you how to handle tough situations. It also builds resilience. It shows you that you're stronger than you think. Every time you face discomfort and push through it, you're proving to yourself that you can handle whatever life throws your way. And that's a powerful thing. That's the kind of confidence that sticks with you, the kind that changes the way you approach everything in your life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked out at a gym or tried to build strength in any way? If you have, you know that growth doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from pushing your muscles, from lifting weights that challenge you. It's the discomfort in those moments that leads to strength. And the same principle applies to every other area of your life, whether it's your career, your relationships, or your personal goals. The growth comes from the stretch, from the moments when you feel like giving up, but decide to keep going. But here's an important point. Discomfort isn't about suffering for the sake of suffering. It's about purposeful growth. It's about choosing challenges that align with your goals, challenges that push you in the direction you want to go. So don't just seek out discomfort randomly. Be intentional about it. Choose the areas where you want to grow, and then find ways to stretch yourself in those areas. That's how you make progress. That's how you turn discomfort into success. One of the best things you can do is to reframe the way you think about discomfort. Instead of seeing it as something negative, see it as a sign that you're on the right track. When you feel uncomfortable, it means you're stepping into new territory. It means you're growing, and that's something to be proud of. So the next time you feel that uneasiness creeping in, instead of backing away, lean into it. Embrace it. Remind yourself that this is where the magic happens. I want to leave you with this thought. Every time you face discomfort and push through it, you're not just growing in that moment. You're setting a new standard for yourself. You're raising the bar for what you're capable of. And with every new challenge you take on, you're expanding your comfort zone. You're becoming the kind of person who thrives in the face of difficulty, who sees challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities. So the next time you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, remember this: it's not a setback, it's a setup. It's a chance for you to grow, to become better, to move closer to your goals. Embrace the discomfort, lean into it, and trust that on the other side of it is the person you're meant to become. Because the truth is, everything you want is just outside your comfort zone. And the only way to get there is to step out and embrace the stretch. Number 7, building habits and systems that support success. One of the biggest game changers in life is when you realize that success isn't about luck or talent. It's about the systems and habits you build. People love to talk about goals, dreams, and aspirations. But let me tell you something, goals alone won't get you there. It's what you do every single day, the systems you set in place, and the habits you build that determine whether you'll make it or not. And let me tell you something else. It's not complicated, but it does take commitment. When you look at winners, whether it's in business, sports, or life in general, you'll notice something. They don't just rely on motivation. Motivation is great, but it's not always there when you need it. You're not going to wake up every day feeling like you want to conquer the world. Some mornings you're going to want to hit snooze and stay in bed. And that's exactly why habits and systems are so important. They don't rely on how you feel in the moment. They rely on the routines you've already put in place. Take a moment and think about your daily routine. What do you do every morning, every evening? Are those routines helping you move closer to your goals, or are they keeping you stuck? Because here's the truth. Your life is a reflection of your habits. The small actions you take every day, over and over again, they add up, they compound. And the results of those habits, whether good or bad, will eventually show up in your life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Jim, that sounds a little overwhelming. How do I even start building these habits? The answer is simple. Start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. Pick one thing, one habit that aligns with the person you want to become, and start there. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier to work on a project. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a good book every day. Maybe it's drinking more water or taking a 15-minute walk. Whatever it is, start small. but be consistent. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Let me tell you about a man I knew. He wanted to get in shape, but he wasn't the kind of guy who loved the gym. In fact, he hated it. But he decided he was going to do something about it. So instead of trying to go all in with a 2-hour workout every day, he started small. He committed to doing just 10 push-ups every morning. That's it, 10 push-ups. But do you know what happened? That small habit started to grow. 10 push-ups turned into 20, then 30. Then he added some other exercises. And before long, he had built a fitness routine that worked for him. It wasn't about starting big, it was about starting. That's the beauty of habits. Once you get the ball rolling, momentum takes over. It becomes easier to stick with it because it's part of your routine. And when you pair that with systems, when you create an environment that supports those habits, you set yourself up for success. Let's talk about that for a second. The power of systems. Systems are the structures you put in place to make success inevitable. They're the routines, the tools, the plans that keep you on track, even when motivation runs low. Think about it like this. If you want to eat healthier, don't just rely on willpower to avoid junk food. Set up a system. Fill your kitchen with healthy options. Plan your meals in advance. Make it easy to make good choices and harder to make bad ones. That's what a system does. It removes the friction between you and your goals. It makes the right choice the easy choice. Another example. Let's say you want to save money. Instead of hoping you'll have the discipline to save whatever's left at the end of the month, set up an automatic transfer to a savings account every time you get paid. That's a system. You don't even have to think about it. It just happens. And over time, those small, consistent actions add up to big results. The key to all of this is being intentional. It's about taking a step back and asking yourself, what kind of life do I want to create? What kind of person do I want to become? And then designing your habits and systems to align with that vision. It's about putting yourself in the driver's seat and taking control of your life, instead of just letting it happen to you. And let me tell you something important. Building habits and systems isn't about being perfect. You're going to mess up. You're going to miss a day or fall back into an old habit. That's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. When you slip up, don't beat yourself up. Just get back on track. Success isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. Here's something I want you to think about. Every habit you build is a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you make the choice to stick with it, you're casting a vote for your future self. And over time, those votes add up. They shape your identity. They shape your destiny. So, what kind of person do you want to vote for? One of the most powerful things you can do is to track your progress. Write it down. Keep a journal or a log of your habits. When you can see your progress, it motivates you to keep going. It reminds you of how far you've come, and it keeps you focused on where you're going. And don't forget to celebrate those small wins along the way. Every step forward is worth acknowledging. I want you to remember this. Success isn't a mystery. It's not reserved for a select few. It's the result of the choices you make every day. It's the habits you build and the systems you create. And it's within your reach, starting right now. So take that first step, build that first habit, set up that first system, and then keep going. One day at a time, one step at a time. Because every action you take is bringing you closer to the life you want, the person you want to become. And the best part, when you build habits and systems that support your success, it doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you show up in the world. And that, my friend, is the real reward. So start today, build the habits, create the systems, and watch how your life transforms. Number 8, accountability and the value of reflection. Let's talk about something powerful today. It's a principle that can completely change the way you approach your life. Accountability and reflection. These two habits, when done consistently, can make the difference between staying stuck where you are and achieving the kind of life you've always dreamed of. And here's the thing. Most people overlook them. They're either too busy, too distracted, or simply unaware of the incredible value these practices bring. But not you. Because by the end of this conversation, you're going to understand why they matter so much and how to start using them to your advantage. Let's start with accountability. What does it really mean? It's about being honest with yourself about your actions, your choices, and your results. It's about taking full responsibility for where you are in life. Now, I know that's not always easy to hear. It's tempting to point fingers, to blame circumstances, other people, or even bad luck. But here's the truth. As long as you're blaming something outside of yourself, you're giving away your power. You're saying, I can't change because it's not up to me. And let me tell you, that's not a winning mindset. When you take accountability, you're taking back control. You're saying, I might not be able to change everything, but I can change something. You're choosing to focus on what you can do, not what you can't. And that shift in mindset is where real growth begins. Winners don't make excuses. They look for solutions. They ask themselves, what can I do differently? How can I improve? What's my next move? Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Jim, I want to take accountability, but it's hard to stay consistent. And you're right. It's not easy. That's why having some form of external accountability can be so helpful. Maybe it's a mentor, a coach, or even a close friend who can call you out when you're not showing up as your best self. Sometimes we need that outside perspective. Someone who can hold up a mirror and say, hey, is this really the path you want to be on? But it's not just about having someone else hold you accountable. Ultimately, the most powerful accountability comes from within. It's about being able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, did I give it my all today? Did I take one step closer to my goals? Did I honor the commitments I made to myself? That's the kind of accountability that creates lasting change. Now let's talk about reflection. This is the part most people skip. Because let's face it, we live in a fast-paced world. We're always moving on to the next thing, the next task, the next goal. But reflection is where the magic happens. It's where you learn, it's where you grow, and it's where you make sense of your journey. Reflection is about taking a step back and asking yourself, what's working? What's not? What can I do better? It's about looking at your wins and your losses with honesty and curiosity. When you reflect, you're not just living life on autopilot. You're paying attention. You're learning from your experiences instead of repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're trying to build a new habit, like exercising every morning. You commit to it, but after a week you realize you've only worked out twice. Now, without reflection, you might just think, well, I failed, and give up. But with reflection, you'd take the time to figure out why. Maybe you're staying up too late, and that's making it hard to get up early. Or maybe you're trying to do workouts you don't enjoy, and that's killing your motivation. Reflection helps you pinpoint the problem so you can adjust your approach and keep moving forward. Reflection isn't just about the big stuff, either. It's about the small, everyday moments. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? What did I learn? Write it down if you can. There's something powerful about putting your thoughts on paper. It helps you see patterns, track progress, and stay focused on your growth. Here's the thing about accountability and reflection. They go hand in hand. Accountability keeps you honest, and reflection helps you learn. Together, they create a feedback loop that keeps you moving forward. And when you make these practices a regular part of your life, you'll start to notice something incredible. You'll see yourself growing, evolving, becoming more capable, more confident, and more aligned with the person you want to be. Let me share a little secret with you. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by accident. They didn't just stumble into success. They practiced accountability and reflection, day in and day out. They owned their mistakes, learned from them, and kept going. They didn't let setbacks define them. They used them as stepping stones. And that's exactly what you can do too. But here's the key. You've got to make these practices intentional. They don't just happen on their own. You've got to carve out the time, even when you're busy, even when you don't feel like it. Because the truth is, the time you invest in accountability and reflection will pay off 100-fold. It will save you from spinning your wheels, from staying stuck in the same patterns, from wasting time on things that don't matter. And don't forget to be kind to yourself in the process. Accountability doesn't mean beating yourself up when you fall short. Reflection doesn't mean dwelling on your mistakes. These practices are about growth, not perfection. They're about progress, not punishment. So approach them with a sense of curiosity and self-compassion. Remember, you're not just trying to reach a destination. You're building a better version of yourself along the way. So here's my challenge to you. Start today. Take 5 minutes to reflect on your day. Write down one thing you did well and one thing you can improve. Think about the commitments you've made to yourself and ask, am I honoring those commitments? If not, What's one small change I can make to get back on track? It doesn't have to be complicated. Just start, and then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Because when you practiced accountability and reflection consistently, you're not just living life, you're leading it. You're taking charge of your story, your growth, and your future. And that, my friend, is what winners do. So start now. Take that first step, because the life you want is waiting for you, and it's closer than you think. Number 9, staying focused on the goal. In this world, distractions are everywhere. You pick up your phone to check one message, and 20 minutes later, you've somehow scrolled through an endless feed of things that don't really matter. That's the kind of world we live in. A world constantly pulling us in 100 different directions. But here's the truth. If you're serious about success, you've got to learn how to stay focused. Not for an hour, not just for a day, but for the long haul. Because focus is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the starters from the finishers, and the hopeful from the winners. Now let me ask you something. How often do you sit down and really think about your goals? Not just casually thinking, oh, I'd like to have a better job or I want to get in shape, but actually focusing on them, visualizing them, feeling what it would be like to achieve them. Too many people set their goals and then forget about them. They get distracted by the noise, the small, everyday things that don't actually get them closer to where they want to be. That's the first thing I want you to understand. Your goal needs to be crystal clear in your mind. It's got to be something you can picture, something that excites you, something that pulls you forward when times get tough. Because here's the reality. If your goal is blurry, your actions will be blurry too. And blurry actions, they don't lead to success. They lead to frustration and wasted time. So if you haven't already, take some time today to define your goal. Be specific. Write it down. Look at it every day. Make it a part of your life, like the air you breathe. Once you've got that clear goal, the next step is to eliminate distractions. And let's be honest, distractions are everywhere. Your phone, your TV, social media, even your own thoughts. The world is full of things begging for your attention. But here's the thing. Your attention is precious. It's your most valuable resource. You can't get it back once it's spent. So you've got to be intentional about where you put it. Think about this every time you say yes to something that doesn't matter. You're saying no to something that does. Every time you choose to scroll, binge watch, or procrastinate, you're choosing to put your dreams on hold. And I know that might sound harsh, but it's the truth. Winners understand this. They know how to say no to distractions, so they can say yes to their goals. But let me tell you something. It's not just about willpower. It's not about waking up every day and relying on sheer discipline to avoid distractions. That's exhausting, and it doesn't work in the long run. What works is creating an environment that supports your focus. Turn off notifications. Set boundaries with your time. Create a space where you can work without interruptions. Do whatever you need to do to protect your focus, because no one else is going to do it for you. And let's talk about one of the biggest distractions of all, comparing yourself to others. It's so easy to look at someone else's success and think, why am I not there yet? But here's the thing. Their journey is not your journey. Their timeline is not your timeline. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Focus on your growth, your progress, and your path. Because the more time you spend looking at someone else's path, the less time you're spending on your own. Now here's something most people don't realize about focus. It's not just about working harder or longer. It's about working smarter. It's about prioritizing the things that actually move the needle. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today that will make the biggest difference? Then do that thing. Don't get caught up in busy work. Focus on what matters. And while we're on the topic of working smarter, let me tell you about the importance of rest. I know that might sound counterintuitive. You might be thinking, Jim, how can I stay focused on my goal if I'm taking breaks? But here's the thing. Focus isn't about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about being intentional with your energy. Rest isn't a distraction. It's a strategy. It's what allows you to recharge, refocus, and come back stronger. Winners know when to push, but they also know when to rest. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Let me give you an example. Think about a magnifying glass. When you hold it steady under the sun, it can start a fire. But if you keep moving it around, the focus is lost and nothing happens. That's how your energy works. If you're constantly shifting your focus from one thing to another, you're not going to make much progress. But if you concentrate your energy on one clear goal, you'll create incredible results. Now I want to talk about something important. Staying focused isn't just about discipline or strategy. It's also about belief. You've got to believe that your goal is worth it. You've got to believe that you're capable of achieving it. Because if you don't believe, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to give up. But when you believe, truly believe, you'll find a way to stay focused no matter what. So how do you strengthen that belief? By reminding yourself of your why. Why do you want this goal? What will it mean for you, for your life, for the people you care about? When your why is strong, your focus will follow. You'll have a reason to keep going, even when distractions try to pull you off course. And let me tell you, staying focused isn't always glamorous. It's not about big dramatic actions. Most of the time, it's about the small, consistent steps you take every day. It's about showing up, even when you don't feel like it. It's about staying true to your goal, even when no one else is watching. That's what separates the winners from the rest. So here's my challenge to you. Take control of your focus. Start today. Get clear on your goal. Eliminate the distractions. Protect your time. Believe in your ability to succeed. And most importantly, take action. Because at the end of the day, focus isn't something you have. It's something you do. It's a choice you make, moment by moment, day by day. And when you make that choice consistently, you'll find yourself moving closer and closer to the life you've always wanted. Number 10, competing with yourself. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you competed with yourself? Not against someone else, not trying to outdo your coworker, your neighbor, or the stranger you follow on social media, but just you, working to be a little better today than you were yesterday. Think about it. Most people spend so much of their time measuring themselves against others. They look left, they look right, trying to see if they're ahead or falling behind. But you know what winners do? Winners know the only competition that matters is the one they have with themselves. That's what I want to talk about today. The importance of competing with yourself. It's not always easy, and it's not something the world encourages us to do. Everywhere you look, society pushes you to compare yourself to others. But here's the truth. You don't win by trying to beat someone else at their game. You win by focusing on your game. You win by becoming the best version of yourself, day by day, step by step. Let's break this down. Imagine this for a moment. You wake up in the morning, and the first thought that comes to your mind is, what can I do today to be a little better than I was yesterday? That's not a competition against anyone else. That's a personal challenge. It's about growth. It's about progress. It's about finding those small, meaningful ways to improve. Maybe it's reading a few more pages of a book. Maybe it's sticking to your workout routine. Maybe it's being more patient, more focused, or more disciplined. Whatever it is, the goal isn't perfection. It's progress. You see, the problem with constantly comparing yourself to others is that it pulls your focus away from what truly matters, your own journey. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's timeline is different. You can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. And when you do, all it does is create unnecessary pressure and self-doubt. You start to think, why am I not there yet? Or what's wrong with me? But let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that matters is that you're moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. Competing with yourself means setting your own standards. It means deciding what success looks like for you, not based on what someone else has or what society says you should have, but based on what truly matters to you. It's about being honest with yourself, about where you are now and where you want to go. And then it's about doing the work to close that gap, not because you're trying to impress anyone else, but because you want to grow, you want to learn, and you want to become the person you're meant to be. Now let's talk about how this actually works in real life. It starts with self-awareness. You've got to know yourself. You've got to take a good hard look at where you're at right now, not in a judgmental way, but in an honest, reflective way. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the habits or patterns that are holding you back? Once you've got a clear picture of where you're starting from, you can begin to set your own benchmarks. Here's the key. Those benchmarks don't have to be big or dramatic. They just need to be meaningful to you. Maybe you want to run a little farther this week than you did last week. Maybe you want to spend 10 more minutes a day on something that matters to you. Maybe you want to replace one bad habit with a better one. The specifics don't matter as much as the principle. You're striving to do better, to be better for yourself. And let me tell you, this mindset of competing with yourself isn't just about achieving goals. It's about building confidence. Every time you push yourself to grow, every time you hit a new personal best, you're proving to yourself that you can do it. You're showing yourself that you're capable, that you're resilient, that you're willing to put in the work, and that builds a kind of quiet, unshakable confidence. Not the kind that's flashy or showy, but the kind that's solid and real. But I'll be honest with you, competing with yourself isn't always easy. It takes discipline, it takes patience, and it takes a willingness to embrace failure. Because let's face it, there will be days when you fall short. There will be times when you don't meet your own expectations. But here's the thing, those moments aren't the end of the road. They're part of the process. Every failure is an opportunity to learn, to adjust, to come back stronger. And when you're competing with yourself, you're not afraid of failure. You see it for what it is, a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. You know, one of the most rewarding things about this mindset is that it frees you from comparison. When you're focused on your own growth, you're not worried about what someone else is doing. You're not distracted by their achievements or intimidated by their progress. You're too busy working on yourself. And that's a powerful place to be. It's freeing, it's empowering, and it's the kind of mindset that leads to real lasting success. So how do you start? You start small. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one area where you want to grow. Set a goal, make it specific, make it achievable, and make it meaningful to you. Then commit to showing up for yourself every single day. Not just when it's convenient, not just when you feel like it, but every day. Because consistency is where the magic happens. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. And remember, this journey is yours. It's personal. It's unique. It's not about anyone else. It's about you. So don't get caught up in comparing yourself to others. Don't let their journey distract you from your own. Keep your eyes on your path. Focus on your growth. Compete with yourself. And when you do that, you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. You'll look back one day and realize just how far you've come. Not because you were trying to beat someone else, but because you were striving to become the best version of yourself. And that, my friend, is what it truly means to win.